you mentioned about how relations to the antiquity of the Indian civilization and the antiquity of the Hindu Sanskrit texts, we can also substantiate as to how these five models of Indian history that we are taught are actually quite flawed. So,
Mhm.
what can we in the 21st century
Mhm.
understand with regards to the antiquity of the Indian civilization?
Very good question. But before I answer that, Divyanshi, in relation to the comments you made towards the end of the last question, so I'd like to say, first of all, our pronouns to all the teachers who have taught us. So it is not my work. I am building on the work of so many gurus, acharyas, teachers who have done their work and provided it. And some of them are no more, people like P.V. Kane, people, so many others who have done enormous works and given these things, including some of the works I quoted today, were from people like Professor Michel Danino, Conrad Els, like Rajiv Malhotra. Many intellectuals have enriched us today with their scholarship. And I think it is our duty and the duty of your generation to read the works of these teachers, these acharyas, these gurus, so that we are able to take our narrative out of this and propagate that. Okay, having said that, so let me, that's my citation, by the way. Having said that, so let me go to antiquity. Your question was on antiquity. Yes, we do see evidence of antiquity of the Indian civilization. Now, civilization is a much disputed word. Civilization has been defined conveniently by different people. For example, the ancient Greeks, they thought anybody who doesn't speak Greek is uncivilized. So that was their notion of civilization. So various people had their notion of civilization. And right now, academia has got a self-serving definition where it says that there needs to be evidence of writing. If there is evidence of writing, that's where history starts from that point on. And if there's writing, then you're communicating your ideas. There is diversification of occupations, and there is a society that can support these diversified occupations and growth of technology and other such things. That is civilization. So they have but then I say that by doing that, we're doing a great disservice to our own civilization, which for the longest time had an authentic oral tradition. Why would you discount the oral tradition in favor of a written tradition only? By doing that, you are falling into that framework where you say Indian works are unreliable because they're oral tradition. That is completely to be avoided. So I tend to look at this as a deep history. I don't call it prehistory in history. I call this the deep history of the Indian civilization. And there is a lot of evidence we have for that. And I'll just call out two of them. I'll start out with archaeology. In archaeology, we see, whether it's paleontology or archaeology, we are seeing evidence of human occupation of India for this land that we are calling India today for the longest time. Whether you go back to 1 million years ago when the Homo erectus supposedly had occupied India, from that time on, going through the finds at Athirampakam by Shanti Papu and other researchers in 350,000 years ago, when they found stone tools in Tamil Nadu and other such places, or coming even further down to the so-called Narmada man, where the skull is found in Narmada Valley, that supposedly has the cranial capacity of a modern human in an era when Homo sapiens shouldn't have been there. We are seeing such kind of artifacts, all the way down, going down to the works of Ravi Korisetter, who's saying that before the Mount Toba event in 70,000 years before present, there's evidence of human habitation in Jwalapuram. And after the Mount Toba event, which is a super volcano, by the way, in Sumatra, after that, also, we are finding evidence of human habitation, which shows continuous habitation for a long time. From there, you go to archaeological records showing cave drawings and other such things from Bhimbetka, other places 40,000 years ago. We are seeing artifacts all over India. We're seeing artifacts. Recently, in the Deccan area in Maharashtra, they found petroglyphs and others that is, again, pointing to an ancient period of time. Go to underwater archaeology. If you go to Dwarka, Dwarka, we are seeing 9,000 years before present, they have found evidence of artifacts over there. If you look at the work of National Institute of Oceanography in Chennai, Kanholi and others, they published a paper on this, on episodes. Or if you go to last year, there was a paper published by Professor Ramaswamy from a university in Tamil Nadu that is talking about Pumpuhar. He's saying how using sonar and underwater remotely operated vehicles, he has been able to find underwater artificial structures 25 kilometers out into the sea, which is off the west coast of India, which is, sorry, east coast of India, where there is Pumpuhar. And they found about 120 meters below the sea level, they found human artifacts, which goes to show at the time of the late glacial maximum, 18,000 years ago, when water was locked up in ice, sea level was much lower throughout the world. At that time, there were humans living in that place. He's also found evidence of harbor and artificial structures over there, which is now a head scratcher, which means 15,000 years ago in Tamil Nadu, we are finding that there is evidence of people who are using perhaps a maritime commerce culture 15,000 years ago and going all over perhaps to Dwarka by 9,000 years ago. This completely rewrites anything in our history, if you will, civilization, if you will, commerce, if you will, trading and other such things. We are seeing deeper and deeper antiquity in some of the finds. So going on from this, we go to Birana, Rakigadi, we are seeing around 9,000 years before present. We are seeing finding artifacts all the way through the Harappa time frame, southern India, seeing Kiradi and other such places, Harikemeda and megalith structures and many, many such things. So all over the India, archaeology and paleontology is showing great antiquity. Now the internal evidence of our texts are also showing great antiquity. For example, archaeoastronomy. We have an ancient text called Vedanga Jyotisha. Vedanga Jyotisha, now several people try to date how old is this text. And one of the colonialists, Colebrook came out with the date of 1400 BCE for this, which turns out to be around that correct time. If we use planetarium software, we can find out Dhanishta Nakshatra, the winter solstice, which is mentioned in this work, or inferred in this work, and we can say this. If you look at Shatapatha Brahmanas, a work that was written by Rishi Yajnavalkya, that is talking about how the Kritika Nakshatra does not swerve from the east direction. And if you try to go back in the planetarium software and try to see when was the Kritika Nakshatra at the equinox position of the celestial equator for a heliacal rising along with the sun, we find that date must go to 2982 BCE. Are you with me? 2982 BC for Shatapatha Brahmana, Rishi Yajnavalkya, some of the earliest works have to go back if this observation of Kritika Nakshatra is to be taken. If you look at the various places in India where we are talking about a calendar event, what is this calendar event? Whether it is epigraphy in southern India, whether it is several texts in northern India, whether it is the daily prayers of many Hindus even today, everybody is talking about their time with respect to a certain event, including Aryabhatta, with a certain event. And that certain event turns out to be planet clustering in the Revati Nakshatra, where all planets, sun, moon had clustered over there. It goes back to 3102 BCE. This is the so-called Kali Yuga event. Kali Yuga started in this time frame. People will throw this away saying, oh, just bogus. But the point is, this is something that is widespread not only in Indian astronomical calendars, also in the astronomical calendars of Thailand. It was Siam at that time. Siam tables are with respect to this. Several places all over the world, we see this kind of thing. So 3102 BCE. If you go even further behind that, if you go to, for example, there is a story of Aditi. There is a story of Aditi and the Punarvashu Nakshatra, which Lokmanya Tilak, as well as Professor Abhyankar, they had decoded that in astronomy, and we can date that to 6000 BCE. There is a story of Ashwinis, Surya, Sanjana, and Chaya. Everybody knows the story about this. And this story can be tracked back to 7200 BCE, according to Tilak, as well as according to Professor Abhyankar. And these are in the Rig Veda. Now, going back even further, recently, Professor Anil Narayanan, he had written a book on Indian astronomy, and he's saying in Surya Siddhanta, there is a position of the Swati Nakshatra. Swati is the star which we call Arcturus today. The position of Swati is such that if see all stars in the sky have got something called proper motion. So we are all going on the galactic center, right? So it takes 230 million years for our solar system to go once around the Milky Way galaxy. So in doing so, several other planets, several other stars may have quicker motion than us, at least related to our observation. And Swati has got a proper motion, which is one of the fastest in the sky. So by studying the rate of Swati's proper motion, we can work backwards in time, and we can say that the observation of Swati goes to 8000 BCE. There is a story of Agastya in our text, how Agastya drank up the ocean and how he gives up the ocean finally also. This can be related to the late glacial maximum, in addition to the appearance of the Canopus star. Canopus star is the one we call Agastya in the Indian tradition. The appearance of that in the southern horizon because of precession, and that can be dated to approximately 10,000 BCE. So we are seeing internal evidence, whether you look at archaeology or whether you look at archaeoastronomy, we are seeing great antiquity. And we can correlate that with climatology, genetics, and other things, and we can see great antiquity for the Indian civilization.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.